Well, what I have to do with this problem, I have to rewrite him in order to make him workable the way he is. So that this is going to become the integral of 1/2 times 1 over y minus, how can I rewrite 2 divided by y squared? 2 times y to the negative 2. You have to keep in mind, now here's my rules. I don't have a y to some power in a denominator. I have a y to the 1 power. That's the most I have. So I do have an anti-power rule. And there's no restrictions on that exponent. I can't have an exponent of 1 or minus 1, by the way, because minus 1 plus 1 is 0. So anytime you try to use anti-power rule on something which is natural log, you'll get an x to the 0 power that says you got to use a different rule. And then this guy is 3 times what? Y to the negative 1/2. And then notice, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, this is dy. And that should be dy because all my variables are what? Y. And I didn't write this as y to the minus 1. Well, why? Because if I look at my rules, we have 1 over x. So 1 over y is going to be natural log. So now I do it term by term. What's the antiderivative of 1/2 times 1 over y? 1/2 times natural log of absolute value of y minus, and what is the antiderivative of 2y to the minus 2? Negative 2 y to what power? Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1 plus, oh, what did I forget? All over minus 1. And negative 1/2 is 3y to what power? Negative 1/2 plus 1 is 1/2 divided by 1/2 plus constant. Now I can clean it up. This is 1/2 natural log of the absolute value of y. Minus and a minus is a plus, and I'd leave it as y to the minus 1 because you don't know what you're going to do with it yet. What happens to this 1/2? What does it do? It flips, right? And multiplies. So what does this 3 become? 6. Now, if I wanted to check my answer, what would I want to do? Differentiate it, take the derivative. Now, you might say to yourself, why do I only have 1 plus c? Wouldn't each one of those terms have a plus c?
That's all added together.
Ah, good observation. He said, yeah, they all have a plus c. But if I were to look, I would come out with 1/2 natural log of the absolute value of y. I'll say plus c1 because he's term 1. And then plus 2y to the minus 1. He'd come out with a plus c, but I'll call him c2 because he's term 2. Plus 6y to the 1/2 plus c, 3 because he's term 3, but they're all 3. C1, C2, C3 are all numbers. So what we say is this: C1 plus C2 plus C3 is C, some constant. Yeah, put a C at the end. They all had C's, but then they all added together to give you one big constant number. So I just have to make sure I have a plus C at the end of my problem. It takes care of everybody. So cute. It is. Okay. Again, I need the rewrite. This is the integral of x to what power? 3 over, what's the index on this radical? 2. Minus 1/2 x to what power? Negative 1/2. What's the square root of 2? Begins with a C. O. N. S. Constant. We didn't even get close. Constant. It's just a number, like 3, right? It's 1.41 something, 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 right? So it's just a number. The variable of integration is x, so that means that what is the antiderivative of x to the 3/2? X to the 3/2 plus 1, 3/2 plus 2/2 is 5/2 divided by 5/2 minus 1/2 x to the minus 1/2 plus 1 is 1/2 divided by 1/2 plus the square root of 2 times x, because he is a constant, right? Plus c. Thank you very much. Now, this is what you're going to have to do on your next test. You're going to have to say, don't forget the plus c, don't forget the plus, and I wrote that on my top of my test all the time. Well, why did I do that? Because for every c I forgot, I lost a point. And I did that a couple of times, and all I had to do that was a couple of times, and I didn't do it anymore. I wrote a note to myself, either plus c on my test or not. So now I need to simplify. The 5/2 flips to 2/5, x to the 5/2. The 1/2 reduce out. So there's your answer.
I have a question, Jackie.
Yes.
With the square root of 2, why don't we rewrite that to the?
Because he's not an x.
Oh, okay.
Because he's just a number.
Okay. So if the x was in the square root, we do that?
Yes. And that creates another interesting world. The square root of 2x. Well, why? Because the derivative of the square root of 2x is what? 1/2 times 2x to the negative 1/2 times the derivative of 2x, which is 2. And that's chain rule. That's 5/2. We're saved from ourselves on that one. Okay, so here we go. I need to rewrite this guy. This is 2 e to the u plus 6 times 1 over u, because it's u to the 1 power, plus, what's the natural log of 2? What's the natural log of 2?
1 over 2.
What's the natural log of 2?
Some number.
Some number. It's a constant.
Yeah.
It's a constant. Natural log of 2 is a constant.
Yes.
It's not x, yeah. Now, the variable of integration is what? du. So that says in my formula, and especially when I bring that constant out, what's he going to have attached to him? U. So what's the antiderivative of 2e to the u? 2e to the u. Plus 6. What is the antiderivative of 1 over u? Natural log of absolute value of u. And what about the antiderivative of the natural log of 2?
1 over 2 x.
So it goes.
What is the antiderivative of the natural log of 2?
Naturally, like 2x.
Natural log of 2. And this guy is times x. So it's not the natural log of 2x. It's the natural log of 2 times x. And then what else do I have to put?
Plus c.
Plus c. Now, oftentimes you'll see this written as x natural log of 2.
Wait, is it x or is it u?
Oh, u. I'll just go away.
Yeah,
U.
that's your
That's my bad. Who's the one who insisted that, what's the variable of integration? Oh, it's me. So, it's a natural log of 2 times u, or u natural log 2. That's the way you see it written most of the time, so you don't get it confused with the thinking the u is inside with the 2. See, if you really want to think about it, natural log of 2u, natural log of 2u, the only way the 2 would be inside with the natural log is if it had parentheses. The way this is written on paper, this would not be true on your calculator, however, but on paper, the way this is written on paper is that this is let me change colors here. This is intended to be this. It's on the outside. Now, if you have math print on your calculator, and I'm not sure if this is set up that way. Well, no, it's not. It's set up like the basic is. See, now if I put the natural log of 2 and I put x, if I don't put parentheses around the ending of that 2, the calculator assumes that the x is inside where the 2 is. If I wanted the natural log of 2 multiplied times x, that's what I'd have to put. Now, for those of you who have math print on your calculator, notice, well, I guess that's not true. I am set up with math print. It's still the same way. Because now if I put natural log of 2, it's still, if I don't put a parenthesis on the other side, anything that follows that 2 is thought to be inside where that you're taking the natural log of. So that's going to be one reason why you're going to see it written in front, so that there's no confusion that it's on the inside. It's not because normally coefficients are in front of everything. But in this case, you're going to see it flipped so that you're not confused as to what you're taking natural log of. Whoops.